Good morning and welcome to the sixth in the series of System Thinking Summit web chats. Today I'd like to welcome Emile Servan Schreiber, who will be coming all the way from Paris to the System Thinking Summit. Good morning, Emile.
Good morning, Louise.
Good morning. So the System Thinking Summit is on the 8th and 9th of October in Cardiff, and as well as Emile, there'll be keynotes from Professor Dave Snowden and Dr. Bill Bellows, who's coming all the way from the States. So we're truly international, plus speakers including Emma Langman, Ian Roderick, Julian Simcox, Kevin Leach, Richard Berriard, Graham Shaw from Transport for London, and loads of others. And whether you're new to systems thinking or looking for masterclass level talks, there'll be something there for you. But as your host on the day, I'm speaking to all the speakers before the event and sharing those conversations with you, so you can get a real sense of what's happening at the summit before you book. So today's Emile. So Emile, would you like to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm a managing director of a US company called Lumenologic. Lumenologic is a company that does consulting on collective intelligence for senior leadership in big companies. So we solve business problems with collective intelligence. I myself have a background in cognitive psychology with a PhD from Carnegie Mellon, where I studied the human brain and got really excited after a while to just see what connected human brains could do together, and hence my interest in collective intelligence.
So how would you define collective intelligence for us?
Well, it's basically, and very simply, the amazing ability of a group of people to be smarter than the smartest individual within the group. And so we all heard about the craziness of mobs or groups of people and the herd mentality, but it turns out that if you structure the group correctly and the interactions within the group correctly, then you will produce intelligence rather than produce madness. So there's a whole recipe to creating collective intelligence from groups, and that's the entire science of what I do.
So do you do that by getting groups together physically? Do you do it online? How does that work?
Well, it turns out that if you get groups of people together online, they usually turn out to be more intelligent than if you put them together physically in a room. And therefore, it does tend to rely on tools that are on the web, where people can collaborate online while not being unduly influenced by other people's charisma or personality or physical presence.
Right, so it's the fact that we don't know, we're not interacting with the personalities of people that makes the online stuff.
Right, independence of thought is a key component. In fact, there's three components to collective intelligence. Four components, I'd say. One is independence of thought, so making sure that nobody is intimidated into not providing their own personal thoughts to the process. Okay, so if you're typically in a conference room with the boss at one end of the table, you'll be intimidated, or you'll be intimidated by people who speak louder or tend to speak more than you. So turns out about half the people in the world are introverts, and the other half are extroverts. And the introverts tend to be taken out of the loop when they are in the presence of extroverts. So it's very important when you do this online, everybody has a chance to speak their mind, whether they're introverts or extroverts, and therefore there's a lot more creativity going on.
And do introverts does it become much more of a level playing field? Do introverts talk as much as extroverts online?
Yes, and they do. I mean, the online process tends to give them a chance to use their own personal type of thinking, which is to be more deliberate and to think more before they talk, while the extroverts will tend to sometimes talk before they think, or at least talk at the same time that they think. So the online process gives the introvert the chance to do his own thing.
So you don't have to have an instant answer, you can think about it and come up with an answer in your own time.
Exactly.
Which is probably actually better for the extroverts as well, isn't it?
Yes, it gives everybody a chance to think more before they talk.
Excellent. So what sort of problems do you look at with collective intelligence?
Well, there are two major types of problems in a very general way. One is innovation, where it's very important to get everybody to be creative together to invent new things and drive innovation in the company, whether it's innovation of products or innovation of processes or all kinds of innovation in marketing. And then the other type of problem is it's actually a problem you can't solve, but you can do, you can have a better attempt at it with collective intelligence, which is predicting the future. Okay, obviously the future can never be predicted perfectly, but it turns out that when you get a whole bunch of people together who have some ideas about what might happen in the future, and you put them all together to predict in a collaborative way, then the prediction is better than what you can get in any other way.
Oh, that's interesting. I knew about the innovation side of things, but I didn't know anything about the predicting the future. I shall have to come and hear your talk and find out some more about that. So Dave, one of the people that's coming to the summit, asked whether there are certain types of problems that collective intelligence is better at solving than others. Other types of problems that you can't solve with collective intelligence?
Yes, we cannot solve really preference problems. So we can solve problems without predicting what will happen or what might happen under different conditions. We can solve problems of being more creative, and that's about it. We cannot solve problems of what type of preference the boss might have about something. That's not the kind of problems we can solve.
So we can't predict what individuals will think by asking lots of people.
Exactly.
So, you referenced this earlier in what you said. Mike asked us, how do we distinguish between the wisdom of crowds and the madness of mobs?
Right. So there is a recipe to creative wisdom of crowds, and the recipe has four ingredients. One, as we talked about, is independence of thought. The other is very important, is the great diversity of opinion needs to be involved. So it's very important to involve a whole lot of people into the process so that you make sure that your own personal biases are going to be countered by somebody else's personal biases. And when you cancel each other's biases in the process, then only the truth or the true information remains. And that's what you want to do. You want to extract the true signal from all the bias-induced noise that people have.
So I don't want to invite just people like me.
Exactly. Even though how smart you may be, you may have a whole bunch of information and a whole lot of knowledge. You also have a whole lot of biases which come from your own background. And who you are and where you come from and where you work, etc. So if you combine people like you and people like me with very different backgrounds, then surely some of our biases are going to be cancelled by each other, and only the common true information that we hold is going to emerge much more because the biases are cancelled. So that's diversity. Very important to involve a whole lot of diverse opinions into the process. The third one is decentralization, which means that we're looking at bottom-up processes, decision processes, rather than top-down processes, right? And the third one is, and the fourth one, sorry, is a process, a mechanism that will actually aggregate all this information that we collect from all these people collaborating with each other, something that glues together the information we collect and makes it something that's usable.
So if you've got all of those in place, it will be the wisdom of crowds rather than one biased opinion.
Guaranteed, rather than conformity. What we're fighting against is conformity.
So Emma also asked, what if there's a discrepancy in the collective intelligence? And she talks about the Marmite effect. So what if half the people go, I really love it, and half the people go, I really hate it? Do you ever get that sort of wide split, like 50-50?
Yes, we get it all the time, and it's very interesting because that's also the value of the process. It's not only, for example, take an innovation process where people are supposed to converge on new ideas that may be interesting. Okay, so some ideas may be very popular when they are created and voted on by the entire organization, but then the processes we put in place allow you to look in deep, fine details at which groups of people within the organization are backing these particular ideas that are very popular or very unpopular. And then what we can see is like providing an X-ray of your organization. You can see that marketing and finance and the top management at headquarters really love this idea, but then people on the ground who are supposed to do the selling, who are in contact with the customers, really don't like it. And that provides you not with then a convergence or an easy solution to your problem, but with a new, very interesting problem, which is why are people so divergent? What is dysfunctional within my organization that makes people think so differently? And that points you to an entire new area of decision-making where you can solve a deep dysfunction within your organization.
So it's quite often people who've got a different take on the problem if you've got a split between opinions.
Yes, obviously when you have a great diversity of opinions, you're going to collect divergence as well. But this divergence is also the value that you get from the process because it allows you to identify a problem within your organization and then solve it.
And does that really frustrate the people who've asked the question in the first place because they were hoping for an easy answer? Do you have to prepare them quite well for that might happen?
Well, you're going to get the easy answers as well, but you also, I mean, you'll identify both nuggets of value, new products that everybody is backing with no questions, for example, and you'll also identify difficulties, misalignments within your organization. So you'll get both. You'll never get only the frustration or only the great satisfaction. You'll get both.
Do companies use this to survey their customers as well as within their own organization?
Yes, they do sometimes. It's a more complex endeavor because you need to make it a lot more game-like, which distracts from the discipline that you need to make this really efficient. And so you might end up with a lot more noise than you would expect.
Right. So how long has collective intelligence in this form been around? Is it a fairly new thing? Is it a well-established practice?
It's been around in various forms for about, as I'm concerned, at least 12 years. So it really started, I would say, at the end of the last century, right before the turn, in various ways. So really since the web made it possible to connect lots of people together.
So you're saying collective intelligence has been around since about the turn of the century?
Yes, at least since the year, would say 1998. And then it's been percolating slowly into the corporate headquarters for the last 12 years.
So how far are we on the journey?
Well, we're really at the beginning because the tools themselves are really starting to appear and they're becoming more and more efficient as we go. I think the new trend now is not only connecting people together, but connecting people together with machines or robots to make the process even more efficient.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on connecting people and machines for me, please?
Yes, it turns out that, for example, when you want to predict the future, a great way to do that is to make people bet against each other. It's something that the UK is really at the forefront of. It's one of the only places where you can get people betting against each other for real money. But then it turns out that it's even sometimes more efficient when you have people bet against each other, but also bet against robots who are trying to bet in a particular way because they're following a particular line of thought driven by data sheets or data flows. So when you connect people among each other, but also with machines, then you can get even greater intelligence by just connecting people together or just connecting machines together.
So, and I guess we're used to that now with the different games that we all play on computers, whether it's playing chess or Scrabble or something against a computer. We're used to that interaction now with machines. Yes,
absolutely. People are very used to that. They expect that, just as they expect when they go join a company. You know, young people now joining big companies expect that their opinions will be taken into account because they are so used to sharing their opinions all the time with their friends and other people on the web. So really, we're with this collective intelligence approach inside big companies, we are surfing a demographic wave. It's clearly, we're all entering into the age of collective intelligence. This new century will be driven by the collective intelligence and people collaborating massively online, just like we can see people playing massively online today.
So if people wanted to learn more about collective intelligence, where would you suggest that they start, apart from obviously coming to hear you talk at our summit? Are there books or blogs or videos? Well, I mean,
yes, the number one book that you have to read, because it lays out the principles in a very readable way, it was a worldwide bestseller, so I'm sure you can find it anywhere in the UK. It's called The Wisdom of Crowds. And obviously the phrase now has entered the common vocabulary, which is a demonstration of how powerful this book has been in changing people's thinking over the last 8 years or so. So it's really the starting point. And then from that, there aren't really that many books you can read about this. There are a whole lot of articles you can find online, including at luminologic.com website, where we have a bunch of resources of the best research, the most interesting research in the field. But now it's a very, very big scientific field. There's even a MIT Center for Collective Intelligence was created a few years ago. So it's percolating not only in industry, but it's percolating also as a science, a new science of the mind.
Which then will stretch our thinking into new ways of using the technology, I guess.
Yes, it's really a revolution, I would think, not only technological, but also a revolution of thought. The idea that you can take off the individual mind from the pedestal it's been on for so long in Western culture, where we have idolized individual thinkers like Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein. You know, we put them higher on the pedestal of what the most intelligent things in the universe. And it turns out now that we have to change our thinking and say that the most intelligent things in the universe may be collections of people rather than individual thinkers. Just like in companies, what should be rewarded is not the top manager, the very smart guy with a great CV, but the group of people collaborating together to make things happen. So it's really a perception of things based on groups collaborating rather than individuals being very performant.
Excellent. So what will you be talking to us about at the summit?
Well, I will lay out the principles of collective intelligence, the data that shows that it exists, and the conditions that make it happen. And then I'll show how we can apply this inside companies in very concrete ways to obtain really good results for solving real problems.
Excellent. I look forward to it. So if people who've listened to this conversation today, if they were to only remember one thing from what we've talked about, what would you like that to be?
I would say that this new century will be driven by the collective intelligence of people collaborating together, not by very smart individuals working alone.
Excellent, thank you. I'm really looking forward to your talk. We hadn't met before today, so I didn't really know what you were going to tell us, and I'm certainly intrigued to know more. So for everybody watching, we'll be doing more web chats with the speakers over the next few weeks, and you can find the ones that we've already done and find out more about the summit at www.systemsthinkingsummit.com. There's also a box on the web chat page if you want to email questions for any of our speakers, or you can tweet at Great Insiders or tweet me directly at Louise Ebrey. Or you could join the Great Insiders LinkedIn group. Just search LinkedIn for Great Insiders. It's been fabulous to speak to you today, Emile. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person and finding out more about what you've got to say on the 8th and 9th of October. Thank you.
Thank you very much.